Hello, everyone. I'm literally watching my gels. Can you see that? Usually it's the whole nail. Now it's just a teeny tiny little section. I'm watching them all grow out. How many of you are desperate for a manicure? Oh, I really want a manicure, but you got to be kind of close to people to get a manicure. Hey, Donna. Looks like you're the first person saying hello, Donna Lynn from New Jersey. Hey, Steve Lowe. Hello, Miss J. I'm Miss J. Um, Christine Kraling. Oh, so great to talk to you last week. Yeah, we had did a great interview. Catherine O'Brien, from Pennsylvania. Ephrata, am I saying that right? I've been through Pennsylvania a lot. I've sold a lot of things down in QVC. Now my daughter's the one, Jamie Hess. Now she sells on QVC. I watched her last night. She did hers on the phone, but she represents Zuda, which is a new line they call it at leisure. At leisure. I call it activewear. But they're right. It's at leisure because it's kind of like dressed up activewear. Like instead of just, always Lululemon, which she can't say on air, but I can say it to you guys. Anyway, so I've gone down. And of course, my husband went to Lehigh. And I'm actually talking about doing some things with Lehigh as it gets a little bit more concrete. I will let you know about it. And you can call me Professor, maybe. Hi, Jeanette Persons from Lisbon, North Dakota. And Christy, good morning from BG, Washington. Not so sunny. It's not so sunny here today either. Sue Jeffries from Naples, Florida. My husband's still down in West Palm Beach with my son, Max, but they're now looking to try to get home. But it's like a 17, 18-hour drive, and they don't want to stop at a hotel for obvious reasons. Hi, Pam Hortzman and Jessica Dempsey and Kim Creasy and Judy Solomon from Philly. Rochelle, let me see if I do your name right. Askenazi from New Jersey. Hi, Vincent, New York City. You being safe there in the city. Hey, Vicki Diamond, you're coming to us from Jupiter, Florida. I love the mall up there. And we go up there to that great movie theater, like right by the dock and everything with the cushy, you can't go to movie theaters though now. Oh, Christina Hernandez from Weston, Florida. Hi, Tammy Lewis. Anna Mae Foley. Hi, Kristen Burton from Minnesota. Are you guys opening up yet? No, I think you guys are still on the edge. There's a lot of states opening up. And that's going to leave us all with do we go out or do we not go out? I don't know. So I was looking up to see if May 4th, I always do this before I come on, is it observed any holidays? Bird Day, I don't know about you, but as the sun's been coming out around here and the bulbs are all blooming, they're all over the place. It's also Star Wars days. Any Star Wars? Is that more of a guy thing? I think it's more of a guy thing. Let's see what else. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May. And it's also National Hoagie Day tomorrow. Is a hoagie like a Subway sandwich? I think it is. I'm not sure though. Is that what a hoagie is? I think so. Hey, tomorrow's National Teacher Day. Oh, wow. Because the teachers around the country have had to learn a whole new way of teaching. And I don't know about you, but this distance learning has been kind of challenging, if you know what I mean. Hi, Teresa Powell from Shreveport, Louisiana, and Elaine Morton from Port St. Lucie, Florida. Hey, I think the baseball teams are actually down there. Did I hear that? Even though someone's saying it's not just a guy thing. That's Nicole from my office. Sorry, Nicole. I forgot you're a Star Wars. Well, hey, then today is your day. Should I give you the day off? because it's Star Wars Day. All right, so listen, guys, you're going to want to get out a pen, all right? Because we've just been doing a whole lot of girl talk and all that stuff with friends, but I've got a fabulous, fabulous guy on today that wrote a book, and you are going to learn so much that you might want to get a pen out. Oh, wait, Donna Modi, you're very sick with bronchitis. You're 70 years old. Oh, 72. All right, come on. Don't be, you say you're depressed. You got all of us. Okay. I'm here to undepress you. Courtney, you are from Mammoth Lake, California. Mammoth Mountain, first place I ever went down a ski slope, but from the top. It's International Fighters Day today. Really? Wait a second. And it's National Nurses Day. Oh, you guys. Like, that's important. Those are the people that are really, really, truly on our front lines. I've been doing a lot of PSAs lately for nurses and also for veterans facilities. Connie, the force did not land in me. Okay. May the fourth be with you. Oh, these are good. These are good, you guys. Star Wars is for anyone. This is from Chris, but there is a contention amongst the fans. Retro blasting and many other Gary Kurtz followers can explain in more detail. All right. I think you might have lost me there. So let me tell you about who I have on today. We're going to learn a lot of important stuff today about being on all of our laptops and our phones and our iPads and connecting with everyone, and what we might be doing wrong when it comes to, online banking. And I'm going to talk about elder scams and what the heck our kids are doing online. And I'm going to be talking to this guy, Scott Augenbaum, who wrote this book, The Secret to Cybersecurity. So during this national at-home order that we had going on, everybody's getting in touch with the only way we can, getting in touch with our coworkers, our bosses, our friends, our us here on social media. And everyone's been Zooming. Like, who knew how to Zoom before this? I really didn't know how. Grandparents are Zooming their grandchildren. And that's interesting. That's kind of a new thing. It only went public last year. Pretty easy to get on. But because it's pretty easy to get on, that also lets hackers get in. And we have a new word in our vernacular. It's being Zoom bombed. And that means that, some not so nice people, when you're in the middle of a huge business presentation, I have a friend that this happened to, with tons of people watching, or with a birthday party with a little kid, and these guys come on with horrible pornographic kind of material. So I thought we should all know more about what we do online and how we protect ourselves, like with online banking and everything that we do. So Scott is a 29-year veteran of the FBI. It's funny because he just said to someone in my office, I'd like to send Joan a signed book. And so she called me and said, should I have him send it to my address? Do you want him to have your address? I said, he's an FBI guy. He knows where I live. So anyway, we're going to talk to him here. Let me call him. He says that of all the thousands of cyber crimes that he investigated over his career, almost all of them could have been prevented with a few simple steps. So what should we know, and what are we doing wrong? Let's call Scott. Not sure where Scott lives, but all right, let me put the sound up a little bit. All right, here we go. You there? Hey, Scott.
Hi, Joan. How are you?
I'm terrific. Scott and I are just meeting, but I read your book and we share the same publisher. And when my publisher told me about your book, I knew right away that I had to A, read it, and B, share it, because I knew I was doing a lot of things wrong. I just didn't know exactly what. We're going to have to talk because I do a lot of things wrong. Say hi to everybody on my Facebook page.
Hello, everyone. Joan, I'm so glad to be here. Big fan. Watched you a lot in the 80s and the 90s.
All right. Well, now you're watching me in the 2020s.
Oh,
Can you believe this is 2020?
I know.
All right. We've all been on the internet because that's pretty much the only way we can operate. Grandparents are Zooming their grandchildren. Like, who would have ever thunk it? But you say we're putting ourselves at risk. Is cybercrime like on the rise?
Oh, absolutely. According to Cybercrime magazine in 2015, cybercrime was a $3 trillion problem. And by 2021, it's expected to go up to become a $6 trillion problem.
Wow.
So that's a huge number. We can't even wrap our head around it. And every day we're hearing about different things that are going on. And this is prior to the virus, but now the virus takes place. We're home. We're buying everything online. We're talking to people. We're checking Amazon. We're waiting for our stimulus check, the Ring doorbell. It goes on and on and on.
So as it's growing, I just have to ask, do you miss it at all? Like hunting down the cyber criminals?
I get that question asked all the time. Do I miss the FBI? And I usually say no. And people go, no, why? I had a great career. I had so much fun. I was so proud to spend almost 30 years with the FBI, worked with some amazing people. But today I'm doing what I love to do. And that is going out, sharing my knowledge with as many people as humanly possible to teach them how not to become the next cybercrime victim. So I'm kind of living a passion project life. I'm working on a startup where we're going to be bringing world-class education. I'm working with a nonprofit called InfraGuard. I get around the country. I blog. I'm just having so much fun in my retirement.
And I hear, tell me, oh yeah, this is what you're doing in your career. This is what we're all doing in our career, other jobs. But
yes.
I just have to ask you before we get into all the good stuff. Someone told me that your mom is responsible for you having an FBI job. How so?
Yeah, well, I grew up in the 80s in New York City, raised by a single mom. Bless her heart, as we say in the South. She tried to do everything right. But when I went from 8th grade to 9th grade, it was a victory. When I graduated high school and went to community college, she was so proud that I went to community college. And when I graduated community college and I didn't do that great, she kind of hedged her bets a little bit. She used to read the chief newspaper, and she found a job for me with the FBI as a file clerk, 1988, 20 years old, making $5.50 an hour. And she said, Scott, this is going to be great. You're going to have a retirement. You're going to have pension. And I said, I just want one of those cool FBI jackets. So I am alive to my mom.
All right. See, moms always know best.
Oh, yes, they do.
So listen, before we get into the nitty gritty of this, I have somebody who joins us regularly, Linda Richmond from Canada, saying if this information applies to Canadians, and it absolutely does, right?
This
information
applies to everyone all around the world.
Yeah.
Who's on the internet, which is almost everybody.
So this is kind of getting ahead of ourselves. Nancy Swoop, though, asks, how safe is telemedicine because we're now all doing so much telemedicine? Do we even know the answer yet?
Well, we're still trying to figure it out, but that's the thing we need to balance. I mean, just think about it. I'm worried about my 85-year-old mom who's in Brooklyn, New York, who's not getting out. I don't want her to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I want her to be able to have that. So we have to always balance security and usability.
All right, we're going to get to elder scams because a lot of us have older parents, but I want to just start out. What are the things that make us most vulnerable? I have to imagine online banking, which I do, which a lot of us are doing now, especially what are the things that really make us vulnerable?
Well, I do online banking too.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
We don't want to be a victim. We do. We take our phones, we throw them out. I'm not willing to do that, but we have to realize that bad guys do not care who you are. They want access to your stuff, your email, to spoof communications. We're going to talk about that. They want access to your money. We had almost 65 million Americans victimized by identity theft because we're changing the way we're doing everything. We're doing it on our phone. We're waiting for packages.
Yeah.
We got doorbells. We got washing machines. We have our elderly parents who are shopping online. That's why we need to educate them.
So you say that the attack normally comes through email? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say in the majority of the situations, the attack is coming from email. But the attack's not coming from an email from someone by the name of Boris Badnoff at cybercriminal.org. It's going to come from somebody you know and somebody you trust, and it's going to look perfect. And they're going to ask you to do something. It's almost like, think about this. If my mom's waiting for something on Amazon and she gets an email that says your package has been delayed in shipping, you need to click on this link or enter in your username and password. What do you think she's going to do?
See, that's the scary part. I mean, when my mom is passed now, but she got herself into trouble just on the answering the phone and doing things. I'm going to have to admit, I one time actually it was from my bank. At least it looked like it was from my bank, and the person came in and said, I need to take over and fix something on your computer. I mean, what's so scary is that they look so real.
That's the problem. And one of the things that I don't worry about my mom about is I've kept her off the internet.
How?
I've given her a phone with that we can text back and forth. And a lot of my friends have said to me, that's kind of cruel. She's missing out. But almost every one of my close friends who has an elderly parent in their 80s has become victimized because they're getting an email that's saying, hey, we're about to shut your water off unless you go over to Walmart and get $100 in Apple gift cards.
That is unbelievable. So we have somebody saying, but we are trusting our firewalls to protect us. And a lot of us are using the cloud. Are we safe there?
Well, remember, the firewall, the cloud, that's not really the importance here. The importance thing to remember is the majority of this could have been prevented, and it's coming because of an account takeover. Someone is going to trick you and send you a phishing email that looks real, and they're going to try to get you to do something you wouldn't want to do, because we have this thing of trust that occurs. And we have to remember, email is one thing, but what about a text message? What happens when your bank texts you and says, hey, we have a transaction, we think it's fraudulent. In order for you to stop this fraudulent transaction, all you need to do is log in. Well, see,
I've gotten that before, and I actually called up my accountant when I got that and said, I just got this. And then he said, no, do not. Yes. But see, that sounds so real.
It is real, Joan. And I've seen this so often during my career, and it broke my heart because it could have been prevented. So I'm telling people, we need to think before we click. Become a human firewall. That's a term that I didn't make it up, but become a human firewall.
So now I see Susan Jeffrey says, I got an email that told me my password and threatened me if I didn't send money. It was really scary.
Oh, that's great. I've had so many calls in the last couple of days about that. Let me tell you what happened here. Someone we did business with on an e-commerce site had their usernames and passwords stolen by the evildoers. So the bad guys took all these usernames and passwords, and another group of bad guys purchased this on what's known as the dark web, which is where they trade their
information about us.
Stolen goods. So they take this list of usernames and passwords, and they see, Joan, that you shopped, let's say, at this supermarket 10 years ago. Well, they're just going to take a chance, and they're going to say, hey, Joan, we want to let you know that we have access to your camera, and we've seen everything that you've done, and it hasn't been good what you've been doing unless you send us a ransom. And it sounds so real, because how'd they get my password?
Yeah, because when you click on it, they can install ransomware. I've never really understood what ransomware is, but that's something that like goes in and gets all your information out?
No, let me explain what ransomware is. Ransomware is when you click on a link in an email and you get malicious code, which is known as malware, on your device, on your phone, on your computer, and it turns all of your information, you can't use it. So, and I've dealt with this so many times in my career. I've had a small business, let's just say it was a dental office. They had 10,000 dental records. All of their stuff was encrypted by the bad guy. The bad guy encrypted their backup. Now all their information can't be used. So Joe, let me ask you, how long can a business survive without access to their information?
So I want to jump to something that that I'd never heard of before. And fortunately, we actually had Judy Borden just said two-step authentication. And this is really like getting down to the nitty-gritty of how to protect yourself. What is it, and why have none of us heard of it?
Two-factor authentication.
Two-factor.
They haven't heard me speak. I've been talking about this for 10 years. Two-factor authentication is an additional step which keeps your information safe. It keeps the bad guys out of your email account, your banking account, your social media account. So go look for each of your platforms. It's very, very specific. And what you have to do is enable it. And the easiest way to do it first is be able to hook your cell phone to it. So if I would steal your password, Joan, for your Gmail account, and I enter in your username and I enter in your password, I can't get access to it because you have the two-factor authentication. And on your cell phone, you're going to get a text message with a random 6-digit code. You need to enable this on all of your personal accounts. And that's one of the big things I talk about in my book. Almost all of my victims did not have this installed.
So wait a second. So in other words, like Facebook and LinkedIn and all those things, we have to go to like our settings, and do we do it on our computer or we do it on Facebook?
We do it on the platform.
Okay.
That is what we do.
So on Facebook and
platform specific.
All right. So we have to go to all of those and enable it. What about our mobile phones? Because almost everyone, even if they're not on a laptop or don't own one, they have this thing right here.
Yes. Let me explain to you what concerns me about the mobile phone. Most of us have an iPhone, an iPad. Well, here's what happened. All of a sudden, Yahoo was breached many years ago, and the bad guys steal 3 billion Yahoo usernames and passwords. So let me ask you, what percentage of Yahoo users do you think have either an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac computer? Just give me a number. What do you think?
30%.
All right, let's even go lower for this example. Let's
Okay,
say
20%.
10%.
Okay.
Let's just say 10. Let's even go lower, 5. What's 5% of 3 billion?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
150 million. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And I guarantee you out of those 150 million Apple users, they're saying, I got a Mac. Macs don't get viruses. However, the bad guys aren't writing the viruses for the Macs. They believe that it's coming true, that 60 to 70% of the population is using the same password from multiple platforms. So what happens if I steal your iCloud password? I get access to every single thing in your iPhone.
I have so much work to do.
We have to have separate passwords. And on our phones, we have to make sure we do not have only a 4-digit code on our phone. We have to make sure the security settings are much higher, at least 8, or use the fingerprint.
Oh, wow. Or the face?
Yes.
Is that a biometric? When you talk about biometric in the book, it's like your face?
Yes, you're using your face. It recognizes you. Are there some flaws with that? It's not perfect, but it's really good in my opinion.
All right. So somebody says, Deanna Pelletier wants to know how can we make sure that our devices are clear of malware?
Oh, have an endpoint solution, go out personally, make sure you have antivirus running. That's going to stop the low-hanging fruit. But let's remember, email is the number one attack vector for bringing on the malware. So let's go back to that point. I want everyone to repeat this every morning when they get up. I will think before I click. I will become a human firewall. And when I get an email that's coming, that looks like it's coming from the Treasury Department saying that my stimulus check has been delayed, you're going to stop, you're going to think, and you're not going to click links. You're not going to call the telephone number in the email. You're going to do your research and call them directly, because sometimes the bad guys will even take over the cell phones. They'll give these fake numbers. So when you call, they'll say, "Hello, Treasury Department."
And I heard that the IRS never makes like calls to you. So if you get a phone call like that, hang up, right?
Yes. Be really careful. They're spoofing telephone numbers. They're making it very, very real to say that here's a great one. You'll get a call that says it's coming from the police department saying that they caught you going through a red light camera. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. And there's an arrest warrant for you unless you pay $150 in green dot. They're going to put a sense of urgency on everything they do in all their communications with you. So think before you act is also another important point.
I have a lot of questions coming in. Judy Borden says, if you pay for antivirus software for your computer, can that also be used on your phone?
There are certain programs that you can do that. Consumer Reports, go online, look at them. I try not to make any recommendations except you need to have one, or you should have one.
Here's Lori that says, does clearing your history in Safari help at all?
Well, clearing your history in Safari will make sure that no one else, that your spouse doesn't see what you're doing or anything like that. I kind of get a little suspicious when my 17-year-old clears his history on the computer. I get a little worried about that.
Okay, so wait a second. I have teenagers, and I had this farther down, but what you wrote in your book about kids and the internet, I mean, it should send shivers down the spines of every parent. Tell us what you have found about kids and what they say.
Well, I handled crimes against children in Nashville for years, and I worked my first child exploitation case back in '97. Here's the thing that's really, really scary about this. Today, it's getting worse because every 10-year-old has an iPhone. Every video game console has kids communicating and talking to other people.
Yep.
And the bad guys are preying on our kids. So we have to start the educational process at the youngest age with our children, because in the old days, what happened? I would do a talk in 2006. I would ask these kids, 13 years old, how many of you knew more about computers than your parents? And I'd say 50% raised their hands. Today, the question that I ask a typical 8th grader is, how many of you can get away with anything in the world you want to do on your smartphone, game device, or whatnot, and your parents don't have a clue? You're not going to want to know the answers. Kids know more about computers than us. We have to become educated to at least have these talks with our kids, so we don't have our kids taking pictures of themselves that will never come off the internet.
Yeah, and by the way, in the book, he says 80 to 90% of kids say, I can do anything. And you say kids need to know never, ever to provide their name, address, date of birth, or phone numbers to anyone on the internet. And they need to know and understand that whatever they write and post on the internet, including tweets, comments, videos, and photographs, are going to stay online forever.
That's so hard, and that's something that I even have to re-explain to adults who are using Facebook on a regular basis, who are saying things that they would never really mean to say. And I reinforce that with kids all the time. You make that comment, you take that picture, you take that picture of yourself smoking a joint or doing something inappropriate, it's online forever.
And then you get out of college, and then your potential employer can look up everything. And I can tell you, as an employer, I've definitely looked at the social media sites of people before I hire them. I have Carol Shapiro saying, I use the LastPass app, and I have different passwords for everything, but all of my important information is stored there. Is that okay?
Yes, LastPass is a password manager, which is a great device.
Ooh, good.
But this is what I want her to think about, and everyone. What happens if I steal the username and password for your password manager? I get access to all of those passwords. So make sure that you have the two-factor authentication turned on for the password managers, and realize what is mission critical in your life. You don't need to do this with everything, but think about it. We need to make sure, identify what are the mission critical accounts. My email is mission critical. My social media is mission critical, because I've dealt with celebrities before who had their Facebook accounts taken over by the bad guys, and a message went out to all the Facebook followers saying, for being such a good follower, here is a free grande latte at Starbucks. The followers clicked the link and got ransomware, and it destroyed.
Oh my gosh. I've heard of those.
Yes. So think, what is your stuff? Things that, like Life 360. What happens if the bad guy gets in to that Life 360 account and knows where all your kids are? What if they get into the iCloud account?
We have Life 360, and our kids know it. Our teenagers know. And if for anybody who doesn't know, you have Life 360, and we can see wherever they are on any given Saturday night. And my husband, his code is, he's called Stalker Dad. But I mean,
we don't want the bad guys. We don't want the lunatics getting access to that information and hurting our kids.
So do we do two-factor authentication?
Yes,
is that what you
we
do?
Do that, and we make sure that we have strong, robust passwords.
Okay. Let's talk about passwords. All right, because you do know that I just wrote this book right here called Why Did I Come Into This Room? And part of it is about the fact that as you age, you have a hard time remembering things like passwords, right, everybody? Like, it's so hard. So what constitutes a strong password?
Well, let's just say first, let's identify the most important accounts. I don't want everyone changing all 100 passwords today. I want them to think about what are the most important passwords where bad guys can steal your identity, imitate you, take your money, or look at you inside your house. So good passwords should be at a minimum of 12 characters in length. 15 is probably better. And listen, now you need at least 10 or 15. And I talk about this in the book. If you're not sophisticated enough for a password manager, and I don't use a password manager, come up with passphrases and take the first letter off of each word and come up with something. So, my favorite restaurant. So I'll come up with something for one of my accounts, like, I love to eat at Manja Nashville very, very much. And then I'll take the first letter off of each word and be able to do that. And I'll come up with a long, robust passphrase. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write the phrase down and keep it somewhere. I'm not going to write the password down. I'm going to write the phrase down.
So let me ask you something. I'm being asked several times about safe apps that track passwords. And I know where this is coming from, because you can't remember all your passwords, right? Now, my computer asks me if I want it to remember that password, and I always say yes.
There are certain sites that I do that, because I do not want to enter in my password every time I check my email on my phone.
And that's okay?
I don't want to do it. However, whenever I log into my bank account or my financial accounts, the easier I make it for myself, the easier I'm going to make it for the bad guys. So we want to be able to come up with something and do that, because we're only doing that once a day, if that much. So find out what accounts are going to hurt you the worst, and do those.
Now you can talk to your bank. I'm going to cover up the name of my bank and get one of these. So when I go to get into my online banking, I need more than the password. I need this little thing with me that's like rolling numbers, and I have to put in the number at that point in time. So that's a two-step authentication, right?
Yes, that is two-step, but not every bank offers
two-step
authentication.
So we need to find, and why do you say don't use Yahoo? Is that because of the fact they got hacked so bad?
Yes, Yahoo got hacked. They had 3 billion, and this is just my personal opinion. My attorney cringes every time I say it, so I say it anyway. They lost 3 billion usernames and passwords, and they didn't talk about it for a long time. So that's just my personal preference. For personal, and they do have, so if you do have a Yahoo account, you don't even need to change it. Just put the 2-factor authentication. But this is what I'm going to tell everyone to do. Create a brand new 2 separate accounts. You do one at Gmail and one at Outlook, and start thinning the herd. So you leave an email account for your most important contacts that you have. Do not give it out to every subscription service, because your email is, like mine, probably covered with a lot of junk. And also, I have a separate email that I use for my banking and finance. This way, it becomes that much harder to phish me, because I never, ever use that for anything else. And both Outlook and Gmail offer, and also iCloud offer, really good, robust security. So that's one of the things that I did, and I slowly started increasing it. And so now it's not filled with all this junk.
I see also you said, I wrote a few things down. Don't use the same username and password for critical accounts. So because I think a lot of us try to use the same thing so that we can remember them.
Yes, and I've seen a situation before that I got called into when I was in the FBI, where this young woman had her Facebook account username and password stolen because she clicked on a link. And then from there, they used that same username and password to log into her email account. They read all of her emails. They saw where she went banking, and then they used the same username and password to empty out her commercial bank account. Your personal bank account is protected by something called Regulation E. Your business bank account is much more vulnerable.
Really?
Yes. And if the bad guys get in, you do not have a lot of time. And unfortunately, most people realize it way too late.
I know you said that very rarely are the bad guys ever caught when it comes to cybercrime, and very rarely do you get your money back. Why is that so true with cybercrime?
Well, here's the thing. When I became an FBI agent in 1996, if you would ask me to give you a description of what I did, bad people did bad things to good people, and I worked with state and local cops, and I put bad guys in jail, and what a fun and exciting job. But cybercrime took a very sinister turn, probably about 2003 to 2006, and now a majority of the incidents are being committed by state-sponsored actors, organized criminal groups, and they're located overseas. And even though the FBI does an amazing job of locking up bad guys, at the end of the day, it's challenging to get your money back. And almost 90% of what I dealt with could have been prevented. And that broke my heart so often, because I wanted to help people, and I felt like it was Groundhog's Day. And I never could put my arm around a victim and say, if you just would have done this, you wouldn't have become victimized. And that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do.
And what are the most, again, repeat, the most important things that if you would have just done this? The first one is don't click, right?
Realize email email is the number one attack vector.
Okay.
Realize that we need to think before we click in an email, think before we click in a text message, identify our mission critical accounts, have separate, strong, robust passwords, and implement two-factor authentication. And do you know how much all that costs to be able to reduce your risk by 90%?
I imagine nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I want to empower people to say, this is what I've learned, and it's just so important to keep, our parents, our kids, our peers safe, because they don't have the money like the big companies do to keep their employees safe. And we all have to remember it's people first.
Yeah, somebody's here, Allison Benton. Never save your bank account passwords in your phone, which of course a lot of us do, because then we go to find out what it is, right?
Yes.
And
that's why, Joan, we have to remember that we need the two-factor authentication on our iCloud account, because so many people just store it in the notes. And if you steal someone's username and password, you go to www.icloud and you log in, and now you see all the notes. And unfortunately, what does everyone have in their notes section? Passwords.
Yes. So you can go on to iCloud and enable the two-factor authentication. And somebody from my office saying here, a lot of people are asking if we'll list some of Scott's tips, and sure we will. Can I ask you to go on afterwards, like I do some of our guests, and answer some of their questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Somebody's asking 8 numbers on an iPhone, because usually it's just 4 numbers. If you enable two-factor authentication, is that what lets you put more numbers?
No, you can just go to the settings and do it, because there was a report that I read that said that almost 25% of the population is using the same 4-digit passwords. So you know what? Come up with your phone number, your grandmother's phone number when you were a kid. I remember that. Some people don't. Come up with something specific like that that's easy to remember.
Someone here is referring to that Life 360, saying, my kids would never agree to signing up with 360. And I just want to let you know, do it when they're younger, when you can actually say to them, I'll give you a phone as long as these are the rules you follow, and I get to have the Life 360 and find my friends and all that, because get them while they were young, and now it's there. And they know that if they want to keep their phones, they've got to keep that, because that's just, I saw, Scott, I saw something the other day, I guess you call it a meme, and it said, 20 years ago, we told our kids never to talk to strangers. 10 years ago, we told our kids never to get into a car with a stranger. And today, we tell them just to go to Uber and sign up and get in the car with a stranger.
Yes, so true.
When we are doing the 4 truths, I want you to tell us about the 4 truths, because you said that in handling over 1,000 crimes, cyber crimes, over your career with the FBI, you say that all the victims had 4 commonalities, and you call them the 4 truths of cybersecurity. What are the 4 truths?
The first one is, nobody ever expected to be a victim. I would hear that all the time. And I remember I would talk to my mom, and she'd be like, what are you bothering me for? I don't have a lot of money. Nobody wants my account. And then I'd hear that with churches. I would hear it with nonprofit organizations. I'd even hear it with publicly traded companies. Nobody ever expected to be a victim, especially here in Nashville. We're down in the South. Everybody's nice. The bad guys do not care who you are, especially during this time of crisis too. They're going to target you even if they find out that someone in your family passed away. They do not have a heart. The second truth is when the chances are, when the bad guys steal your stuff, and think about it, your money, your identity, your information, when you contact law enforcement, it's very difficult to get your money back. I was speaking one day and somebody disagreed with me and said, hey, how did you just tell people that the FBI is not getting their money back? And I just happened to bring up 8 separate data breaches that I was all victimized. And there was 4 billion pieces of information. Once your information is stolen, it's stolen. The third truth is it's very challenging for law enforcement to bring these bad guys to justice, but still located overseas. And the FBI still does that. The long arm of the law is going to track you down, but it goes back, you don't get your stuff back. And that usually depresses people. Like, look, you're not getting your stuff back. Nobody's going to jail. And I go, but it depresses me because most of the time it didn't have to happen. If people just would have followed what I've told them to do, what I've learned in my career.
And that's actually number 4, which is the majority of cybercrime could be prevented. So a lot of people are saying, so they never ever heard of 2-factor authentication. If we do that, if we enable 2-factor authentication on all of our platforms, are we pretty safe?
Well, here's what happens. Let's say I have 2-factor authentication enabled on all of my devices, so the bad guys are not going to get in. But what about the rest of the world? And what if all of a sudden I'm going to buy a house and my real estate broker doesn't have her 2-factor authentication on? So now I get an email, I'm buying a house, and this happens all the time in the real estate sector. I'm buying a house, I got 2-factor on mine, my broker doesn't. Bad guys steal her username and password. They read all of her emails, and they pretend to send, well, not pretend, they're in her email, and I get an email from my broker saying, Scott, here's your form. You need to send your down payment to this bank account. What do you think most home buyers do when they get an email from their broker telling them to do something?
They want it to go through, so they do it.
So everything that I told you has to be done together. Putting 2-factor authentication on your devices and walking away is not going to prevent the.
So we got to really work at our passwords.
And being that firewall.
And I just want you to know, here's someone, Donna Lynn. I've been in banking for 25 years. This man is awesome.
Wow. Are you sure? Are you sure that's not my mother pretending? Oh, no, she's not on the internet.
So you guys, this is the name of the book, The Secret to Cybersecurity. You can order it obviously online at all the different platforms. Just be careful when you're doing that. Remember what you're ordering. A simple plan to protect your family. His name is Scott Augenbaum. Once I started reading this, I kept saying, oh no, oh no. I kept taking notes in the margins of everything I had to do. But it's fascinating. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I knew I was doing a ton of stuff wrong just to make it easy for myself.
And my goal is to empower you and empower your listeners to say, before you spend money, just do what we talked about today on the call. Think before you click. Think before you act. Put 2-factor authentication on. Have separate passwords and know what is your stuff. That's all you really need to do today.
All right. I got a lot of homework to do. All right. Say bye to our crowd. They've got some questions, so they're going to wait for you to come on. Scott, you're awesome. I've known for a while I had to do this, but your book gave me the kick in the butt that I needed.
And Joan, thank you for having me on, and thank you for all you do too. So many people love you around there, and it was such an honor to be here today.
All right. Thanks. All right, you guys. Somebody just said, I want to see the picture behind you. That's from a magazine a long time ago. My Lindsay right there, she has 2 children, 2 beautiful children. Parker's in kindergarten and Leo is 3. And this is Jamie right here. Jamie is 39 and is married and has 2 gorgeous little boys, Mason and Asher. And they're up at our house up in Maine. They got out of New York City like they got out of Dodge fast. So I see a lot of you saying, I'm going to make my husband watch this. Linda, good idea up there in Canada. A lot of good information, you guys, right? We'll talk about it again because we really, I mean, just us. I'll be a nag, okay? Because we all need to do this. I really need to do this, and I knew I did, but when I read his book, it was a big old eye opener. All right, so I give you permission to order his book right after you order mine. Come on, we got to have a deal going on here. All right, everybody, Monday morning, May 4th. I will see you tomorrow on Cinco de Mayo. Namaste.